Hello and welcome back to Seaside Garage. I always thought that the Twingo was a bit of a modern day 2CV, and now my Twingo also sounds like one. So some of you guys are probably a little bit surprised to see this, because I think I told you guys that I sold it. But if you follow me on Instagram, I shared this story. Driving home in the Twingo. The Twingo is back. And currently it's running on 2 cylinders and it's been like this for a couple of hours of driving back home. Just shy of 4 hours drive. I got 2 dead injectors. So I think it's around 25 horsepower at the moment, which makes it just achievable to get to 80. Not achievable to hold it at 80, but beggars can be choosers. The story is, I actually sold this to my brother-in-law. He lives 3 hours away from me, but I cross a very expensive bridge. The plan was that he was going to buy it. Unfortunately, it actually started to act up on the drive home. It started to misfire a little bit, and because it was quite far away, I couldn't just pop by and take a look at it. But due to the nature of the fault, misfiring, I asked him to try to pull the plugs off while it was running, and when he took off cylinder number 2, he didn't think it made any kind of difference. Therefore, we decided to just go ahead and take the obvious thing that was easy to fix, changing the wires and the ignition coil. The ignition coil on these are quite known for doing that exact thing, shutting off 1 or 2 cylinders. So he changed that, but there was absolutely no difference. So we decided to wait a bit because we had planned to visit them a little later. I actually bought a used fuel rail with the injectors and all that just to take with me, because I thought if it wasn't lack of spark, it would probably be lack of petrol. And so I took that with me, tried to change it, no difference. Then it turned out that it's actually 2 of the cylinders that are not working. It's running on 2. The 2 middle ones are not working. The 2 outer ones are working. Anyway, the problem was a bit more complicated and not an easy fix. So I offered to just take it back and then fix it up. And actually, I've been missing this car a little bit, especially with the fuel prices. I'm actually surprisingly happy about having this back home again, because it is such a cool little car. You will notice that all the shrouding is missing. It's inside the car. No reason to put that back on. Oh, there's a chopper. Anyway, let me just show you what I found out, just to keep you in the loop. As you can see down there, it's written Twingo. That's because I just ended up changing the fuel rail and 2 of the injectors, just to make sure that all that was all right. That was a waste of time. Luckily, it was very cheap and was an easy thing to attempt. It's so difficult to diagnose a running issue while not seeing the car, only having the symptoms to work from. And the plan, as mentioned, was to go there, fix it up, and go back within a couple of hours, which was not possible. This is all changed. Luckily, we kept the old parts because they are probably completely fine, so then I have a spare. But let me show you. I'm just going to fire it up. These 2 in here are not working. And listen to this. You could probably see the spark. The spark is very strong into the engine, but it doesn't change engine mode at all when I plug it in. The same can be said about this one over here. You can hear the spark, but no change in engine mode. And then take a listen if I remove this, for instance. Now we are running on 1 cylinder. And the same over here, of course. So there is clearly spark going through this and into the spark plug. Of course, the spark plug could be faulty, but those were also changed and are brand new. And by the way, while trying to diagnose the issue through my brother-in-law, I asked him to try to move the spark plugs to see if the problem moved together with the spark plug, and it did not. So that ruled out the spark plug being the issue. So that led me to the conclusion that either there are no compression on the 2 middle ones, or there is no mixture going to those 2, either the air or the fuel. Most likely the fuel, of course. I did check the oil pan to make sure it wasn't milky, because it could be a head gasket issue. If the seal are broken between those two cylinders, it would mean a compression loss, of course, and probably also a coolant loss. But then what I did was to take my stethoscope, I think it's called, which is this thing right here. This piece is just a metal rod, and if I touch something, the sound will really be transmitted through this and into my ears. Now I'm going to try with the microphone. And then what I'm going to do is to touch the injectors, because an injector should really make a loud clicking noise that is very audible through one of these. And hopefully you will be able to hear it. So let's try cylinder number 1. Injector. And then cylinder number 2 injector. Cylinder number 3 injector. And number 4. Now I don't know if it's possible to record the sound with this. I think it is, but if not, the 2 outer ones are clicking loudly. Even it's actually so loud that if I touch this part of it while touching the injector, I can physically feel the clicking, but not on the 2 middle ones. So when I discovered that, I took a look at the spare part that I brought with me. This is actually the original one. I changed it just to make sure that no wiring issues were there, because it was easier. I didn't really have any good measuring tools or anything. But you will notice that they all share this wire, and then they have these two. This one goes to the 2 outer ones, and this one goes to the 2 inner ones. As I understand this system, this wire that is shared with all of them is the positive 12 volt feed going through the injection relay. This is working because these would not be firing if not. So that part of it works. The 2 other wires are controlled by the ECU, giving it the ground feed or the negative signal. These out there seems to work, but not this. So it's 1 wire that is not receiving the correct signal. The outer ones are. That led me to believe that maybe a issue with the actual wiring was there. So what I did was to remove this, which gives me access to the ECU, which is located right here. There we go. And then using these, I can take the connector up here. And then see if I can find the other side using that function. There we go. I found one of them, and I want to find the other one. There we go. I found the other one. So the wiring going from this to the connector is working. And it was at this point that I had to throw in the towel and read up a little bit on the ECU. So I Googled around and found out that the ECU got 2 transistors controlling the injection. So they will inject fuel in pairs. Firstly the outer ones, then the inner ones, and the outer ones, and so on. There are 2 transistors in there, and it's not uncommon that one of them will burn out. Apparently, especially if you have an issue with the ignition coil, it will backfeed some power into the ECU and burn that transistor out. So what I did was to remove the ECU. Because I thought maybe I was lucky that it was just a break in the connection. Or maybe I was lucky that I could do something at the spot to make it work again. So I took this out, removed the screws, and removed the cover. You can see my dirty fingers right there. This is the spot where I realized that there was no chance to fix this issue during a Saturday afternoon without my own tool set and so on. So I just thought, this is not going to work. I'm going to fit everything back together and just attempt to drive it home on 2 cylinders, and hopefully it would work. And it did. And then I thought maybe I could peel this off somehow and get to that transistor. And I still want to try that. But the first thing I did when I got back home with the car in one piece was to go ahead and go online and buy another one, which has been tampered a little bit so that the immobilizer is no longer active. Because this car is so modern, it's a new car. It's only 27 years old. So if I were to change an ECU, I would have to change the immobilizer box and the ignition barrel thing, unless I could find some place that removed the immobilizer. And this is a decoded one from France. I hope it works. I really took a long time making sure that the numbers matched completely according to the pictures on eBay. And then I got this one, which is completely different in the number department. But maybe the numbers are not that important. I hope. It looks exactly the same. It should be from the correct one. But I'm going to fit this and hopefully it will work. Hopefully they know what they are doing at that place I bought it from. They apparently sold quite a few of these. I think they know if the numbers are very important to be completely the same. Let's just hope. No reason to fit all the stuff just yet. I'm just going to click in the connector and hopefully it won't explode. No explosion. And then this one in here. There we go. Connected. Then I'm going to attempt to start it up and hopefully we will be running on 4. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. The Twingo is back alive. Sounds great. Just to show you, if I now remove one of these, it will change engine mode completely. Nice. It will probably adapt over time to run a little better, but it sounds fine to begin with. I'm going to switch it off and just do a quick compression test just to make sure that nothing has been damaged in the internals of the engine. Let's see. Something flew out. Must be the massive compression. 200 psi. Wow, nice. This is one of the non-working ones. It's been offline for a while. Uh, 190. $200. Nice. And then the last one. We're out of the woods. There are no damage done in the combustion chambers from that drive home. I don't think any harm was done. Of course, there were more vibration and a slightly more uneven pressure on the crankshaft and so on. But due to the fact that no fuel was squirted in, I'm not worried about the catalytic converter and so on. So I think it's fine. And that was the last one. Oh, slightly lower actually. I'm just going to give it a go more. I think I cranked it slightly less than the other ones. Yeah, we're up to 195, so it was down at 180 before. Very healthy numbers. That's great. Now you probably know that I don't enjoy just changing stuff. Now I have done it. It works, but I'm just going to see if I can take this off somehow. Maybe repair it just for the front of it. but at least see if I can see that transistor. Maybe I can just pull it off. Maybe using a knife in the edge. I have a feeling that this is probably not that easy to get off unless you melt it off somehow, maybe. Oh, I think I hit the board right there. That's probably not good. So this seems to be the start of a time where it's just impossible to fix stuff. An early start, but yes, I know this will keep moisture out, but it's also making it very difficult to change anything on the ECU without completely wrecking it. Yeah, this is going to be a waste of time. Look at this. It's just completely glued to the PCB board. Does anyone know of a way to get this off without damaging the electronics? Feel free to comment. I'm just going to keep it for fun for now, but it's not an easy fix, that's for sure. Have to take all this off to figure out where the transistor is, and then I can possibly change it. I wonder if it could be this one. That's so high. Is it maybe swollen up? This is a condenser, I think. So it's probably not that. I don't know. Anyway, I will fit the spark plugs back in, and then I have a working Twingo again, and I can save a little bit on the fuel, which is nice. Thanks for watching. Don't forget you can support me. There is a Patreon link down below, and see you in the next one.